So what's behind this sudden rise in so-called ghost ships from North Korea?
Do you believe in ghost ships? Even if you don't, I'm here to tell you that they are in fact real. Ships that float across the ocean for decades, empty and lifeless.
A Facebook post claiming this ship is a fully intact 1700s-era ghost ship.
Ships that only show up during the biggest of storms. And ships that are rife with legends, seeing which could only result in disaster. Let's take a look at some scary ghost ships that actually exist. Number 20. The Flying Dutchman. The Flying Dutchman is perhaps the most legendary ghost ship in maritime history, a tale spun from the mists of the 17th century. This ghost ship, Van der Decken, found himself battling a fierce storm near the Cape of Good Hope. Determined to press on despite the pleas of his crew to turn back, he swore an oath to complete his journey, even if it meant sailing until doomsday. It is this defiance that cursed the ship to sail endlessly, with its crew forever trapped aboard, never aging and never dying. Sightings of the Flying Dutchman have been reported for centuries, often by sailors who claim to see the ship glowing in the distance. Seeing this phantom ship is considered an ill omen, believed to bring misfortune and doom to those who witness it. One of the most famous accounts comes from King George V, who, as a midshipman in 1881, purportedly saw the ghostly vessel off the coast of Australia. Number 19. Their 2-year-old daughter Sophia and a crew of 7. Almost a month later, on December 5th, the British brigantine Dei Gratia spotted the Mary Celeste adrift in the Atlantic Ocean between the Azores and Portugal. The ship was completely silent as the Dei Gratia approached. When the crew boarded the Mary Celeste, they found it abandoned. There were no signs of a struggle or violence. Everything was in place, except for the people. The last entry in the ship's log was dated 10 days earlier, on November 25th, suggesting the crew had been on board at least until then. The ship itself continued to sail under different owners until it was deliberately wrecked in 1885 as part of an attempted insurance fraud. Yet, despite its end, the legend of the Mary Celeste call for help set rescue ships on a frantic search for the Orang Medan. When rescuers finally located the cargo ship, they were met with a scene straight out of a nightmare. The crew members lay lifeless, their bodies scattered across the chart room and bridge, but it was their condition that was most haunting. Faces were frozen in expressions of terror, limbs twisted, and arms raised as if they were fighting off something unseen. There were no visible injuries or signs of violence. The mystery deepened when, before a full investigation could be conducted, a fire broke out in the ship's engine room. The rescuers were forced to evacuate, and the Orang Medan sank, taking its secrets to the ocean floor. Number 17. Octavius. The Octavius set sail from then, in 1775, a whaling ship stumbled upon a ghastly scene off the coast of Greenland. The crew of 5 men who boarded the derelict ship were met with an eerie silence. Below deck, they discovered the entire 28-man crew frozen in place. The captain was found at his desk, pen in hand, as if he had been writing in the ship's log when death claimed him. The last entry was dated 1762, indicating that the Octavius had been adrift for 13 long years, trapped in a tomb of ice. The Octavius became a symbol of the sea's unforgiving nature and the mysteries that lurk in its depths. Number 16. Carroll A. Deering. Carroll A. Deering is often dubbed the ghost ship of the Outer Banks. This 5-masted schooner, built in January 1921. However, shortly after leaving Brazil, Captain Merritt fell ill and was replaced by Captain Willis B. Wormel, an experienced mariner. But something went wrong. The last confirmed sighting of the Carroll A. Deering was by the Cape Lookout lightship off North Carolina on January 28, 1921. The lightship's keeper reported that a crewman with a foreign accent told him that they had lost their anchors. The Deering was then spotted near Diamond Shoals, an area known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic. On January 31, 1921, the ship was discovered abandoned on the shoals. When rescuers boarded the vessel, they found it completely deserted. The crew's personal belongings, the ship's navigational equipment, and the lifeboats were missing. Despite extensive investigations involving most of Vancouver Island, British Columbia, panic swept through the passengers and crew as the vessel began to take on water. Efforts to launch lifeboats turned chaotic and tragic. The harsh conditions made it nearly impossible to safely lower them into the sea. Out of 108 souls on board, only 37 survived the ordeal, making it one of the deadliest maritime disasters in the region's history. In the years following the disaster, tales of ghostly sightings began to surface. Fishermen and sailors claimed to see a spectral version of the Valencia drifting in the mist near where it sank. Some even reported seeing human skeletons on the phantom ship, adding to its eerie mystique. As a direct result of this disaster, lighthouses were established on the western coast, and improvements were made to radio communication. Normal at first glance. The engine was still running smoothly, a laptop was open and functioning, and food was laid out on the table, as if the crew had just stepped away for a moment. There were no signs of a struggle, no distress signals sent, and the only clue was a torn sail flapping in the wind. This bizarre discovery prompted a massive search operation, scouring the surrounding waters for any trace of the missing men. Despite the extensive efforts, the crew was never found. Number 13. SS Bashimo. Built in Sweden in 1914, the SS Bashimo was a sturdy cargo steamer designed to brave the icy waters of the north. For years, it served its purpose well, transporting goods and furs for the Hudson's Bay Company. But in 1931, the ship soon became trapped once more. This cycle repeated several times until the crew finally gave up hope and left the ship to its fate, expecting it to sink into the icy depths. However, it managed to break free once again, wandering the Arctic waters without a crew. Over the years, it was sighted numerous times by Inuits, explorers, and other ships. Despite various attempts to salvage the Bashimo, the ship always managed to slip away, eluding capture like a phantom. The last confirmed sighting was in 1962, frozen in ice, but still intact. Number 12. MV Joyita. The MV Joyita was built in 1931, set out on what was supposed to be a routine journey from Samoa to the Tokelau Islands in October 1955. But there was no one on board. The people had vanished without a trace. The radio was tuned to the international distress frequency, and a doctor's bag was found with bloody bandages, hinting that something had gone terribly wrong. Yet there were no signs of struggle or violence on the vessel. Despite extensive search efforts, no trace of the missing people was ever found. Number 11. High Aim 6. The High Aim 6 is a mysterious Taiwanese fishing vessel that set sail on October 31, 2002 from the port of Liuqiu in southern Taiwan, with its destination set for a routine fishing expedition. Everything seemed normal as the ship left, but this Halloween voyage was destined for anything but the ordinary. Fast forward to January 8, 2003, when High Aim 6 that followed revealed a tangled web of mystery. Phone records indicated that something might have gone awry shortly after the ship's last communication. One crew member, found later in Indonesia, claimed that a mutiny had started on board, resulting in the murder of the captain and the engineer. Number 10. HMS Resolute. In the mid-19th century, the British Royal Navy dispatched HMS Resolute as part of an expedition to locate the lost Sir John Franklin and his crew, who had vanished while searching for the Northwest Passage. The HMS Resolute, a sturdy cruiser, set sail with high hopes and a crew determined to uncover the mysteries of the Arctic. Despite their resolve, the harsh conditions of the Canadian Arctic soon took their toll. The ship became trapped